Sarah Harper stood at the edge of the high school football field, her hands wrapped tightly around a warm cup of coffee as the crisp autumn wind swept across the stands, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and the faint tang of fresh grass. Her eyes were fixed on the field, watching her son, Ethan, tighten his helmet and adjust his gloves as he prepared for the biggest game of the season. She remembered the first time he had picked up a football, a small, awkward thing in his hands, and how he had looked at her with wide, determined eyes, asking if she believed he could play. At that moment, Sarah had felt a mix of hesitation and hope. She worried about injuries and the pressure of competitive sports, but she had seen a fire in him she couldn't ignore. Over the years, she had stood by him through early morning practices, long drives to games, and evenings spent throwing passes in the backyard when the light was fading. Every scraped knee, every missed pass, every small victory had been a step on this path, and she had cheered silently, encouraged him when he doubted himself, and wiped away tears when he was frustrated. Now, standing in the bleachers with her heart racing, she felt that same mix of pride and nervous anticipation. Ethan was no longer the little boy she used to hold close, he was a young man stepping into his dreams, and she couldn't help but feel both awe and a gentle ache at how quickly time had passed. The stadium buzzed with energy, parents and students filling the stands with cheers, the band playing a lively tune, the referees shouting instructions, and the players shouting to each other, calling plays and pumping each other up. Sarah felt every emotion surge inside her, from excitement to fear, as she realized how much this game mattered to him, how much it mattered to their lives, and how every moment she had invested in his dreams was culminating right here, right now. She noticed the way Ethan's teammates glanced at him with respect, the way the coach patted him on the shoulder, and the way the opposing team looked wary but determined. Each detail reminded her of the countless hours they had spent together, the sacrifices they had made, and the silent promises she had kept to always be there for him. She remembered nights when she stayed up late, watching videos with him to analyze plays, mornings when she made sure he had a healthy breakfast, the way she drove him to practices even when she was exhausted, and how she had quietly celebrated every small achievement, every compliment from coaches, every touchdown in scrimmages that seemed insignificant at the time but built the foundation for this day. Her thoughts briefly wandered to her life as a single mother, the loneliness she sometimes felt when Ethan's father had left years ago, and the quiet moments when she had wondered if she would ever find someone who could understand her world and her dedication to her son. But then she caught sight of Ethan looking up at the stands, his eyes searching for her, and the doubts melted away, replaced with a surge of warmth and love. She waved, and he waved back, a nervous smile crossing his face, and Sarah felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, quickly brushing them away. The whistle blew, signaling the start of the game, and the energy on the field shifted, the players moving with focus and determination, the crowd rising in unison, and Sarah's heart leapt with every movement Ethan made. She felt as if she were experiencing every tackle, every sprint, every pass right alongside him, her heartbeat matching the rhythm of the game. She thought of the times she had encouraged him to push through frustration, to stand tall even when he felt small, to believe in himself when others doubted him, and she marveled at how those lessons were now being tested on this field, under the bright lights and the watchful eyes of everyone around. As the game unfolded, Sarah noticed the subtle details, the way Ethan's expression shifted from concentration to determination, the sweat glistening on his forehead, the way he communicated silently with his teammates, the small gestures that showed leadership and courage far beyond his years. She felt a mixture of pride, awe, and a gentle sorrow for the fleeting nature of childhood, knowing that these moments would soon become memories, treasured but impossible to relive. She reflected on her own journey, the sacrifices she had made, the challenges she had faced, and the quiet strength she had discovered in herself, realizing that supporting Ethan had given her purpose and had shaped her into the person she was today. Yet, amid the pride and joy, there was a flicker of worry, a question of whether he could handle the pressure of the game, whether the opponents would be too strong, whether he would stumble when it mattered most. Every cheer from the crowd, every shout from the coach, every play made her pulse quicken, and she couldn't help but whisper words of encouragement under her breath, hoping they would reach him somehow. Then, in a sudden surge of movement, Ethan sprinted past his defenders, catching a critical pass, his eyes focused, his body moving with precision, and Sarah felt a jolt of pure elation. She jumped to her feet, clapping and shouting, tears streaming freely, as the crowd erupted around her. At that moment, nothing else existed, no worries, no loneliness, no past heartache, just the bond between mother and son, a shared triumph, and the beauty of witnessing a dream come alive. The whistle blew again, signaling the end of the first half, and Sarah's hands trembled as she clutched her coffee, her mind racing with anticipation for the rest of the game, wondering what challenges awaited, whether Ethan could sustain this level of excellence, and how she would continue to support him no matter what happened. In that moment, amid the noise, the cheers, and the cool breeze, Sarah realized something profound, that being a mother wasn't just about nurturing or guiding, but about believing unconditionally, celebrating victories large and small, and standing steadfast through uncertainty. She felt a quiet, powerful hope that whatever came next, triumph or setback, she and Ethan would face it together, bound by love, trust, and the shared pursuit of dreams. And as the players returned to the field for the second half, Sarah took a deep breath, steadying herself, ready to cheer louder, to love deeper, and to be there for every step of Ethan's journey, knowing that this day, this game, and this moment would stay with her forever. The second half of the game began, and Sarah Harper's heart raced faster than ever as she watched Ethan take the field with a fierce determination that seemed to light up the entire stadium every time he sprinted, dodged a defender, or caught a pass. Sarah felt as if she were moving with him, her chest tightening with pride and worry at the same time, knowing how much this moment meant to him and how much effort had gone into preparing for it, remembering all the early mornings, late nights, and endless drives she had committed to helping him grow into the player he had become, and how those small, often unnoticed sacrifices had led to this very second when his skill, focus, and heart were on full display. She noticed how his teammates relied on him, passing the ball with confidence, shouting encouragement, and trusting him to make critical plays, and she thought of how much Ethan had grown not just in skill but in character, learning to lead, to take responsibility, and to push through moments of fear or doubt with grace and resilience, qualities that filled her with awe and made her love him even more deeply. As the game intensified, the opposing team pushed back, their defense strong and aggressive, and Sarah's pulse pounded in sync with every clash on the field, every whistle, every shout, and every cheer from the crowd, as she silently urged Ethan to keep moving, to trust himself, to believe in the hours of practice that had brought him here. She saw the determination etched on his face, the sweat glistening on his forehead, and the subtle nods and signals he exchanged with his teammates, evidence of the quiet leadership he had developed and the respect he had earned, and she felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, unable to stop herself from shouting encouragement, her voice mingling with the roar of parents, students, and fans, as though her energy could somehow give him strength. But amid the thrill and pride, Sarah noticed someone new on the sidelines, Jason, the assistant coach who had joined the team a few months earlier, a man with a kind face, steady gaze, and an aura of quiet confidence that immediately made her heart flutter unexpectedly. She had met him briefly at a practice, exchanged polite greetings, but today, seeing the way he cheered for Ethan, the thoughtful way he adjusted plays, and the gentle but firm encouragement he offered to the players, she felt a surprising connection, a sense that he understood the depth of her involvement and the love she carried for her son, and it left her wondering if someone could truly share in her world without overstepping or changing the bond she cherished with Ethan. The game became a blur of motion, energy, and emotion. Ethan caught a long pass, dodged two defenders, and sprinted down the field, the crowd erupting as the scoreboard shifted, and Sarah could hardly breathe as she waved and shouted, feeling both exhilaration and relief, knowing that every practice, every setback, and every small victory in the past had led him to this triumphant moment. Her mind briefly wandered to the nights she had spent at home alone, planning meals, balancing work, and making sure Ethan had everything he needed, and she realized how this moment validated all the quiet, unseen labor she had poured into supporting him, reminding her that love often shows up in dedication and presence, in cheering from the sidelines, and in believing when others might doubt. As the game continued, Ethan faced challenges, tough tackles, split-second decisions, moments when he almost lost his footing or dropped a pass, but each time he recovered, drawing on the resilience Sarah had tried to instill in him, And she felt a surge of pride that mingled with anxiety, knowing how easily a single mistake could shift the momentum but trusting in the character she had nurtured and the training he had committed to. At halftime, she had watched him sit on the bench, gulping water, wiping sweat from his face, listening intently to his coach, and she had wanted to run down and hug him, to tell him how proud she was. But she knew that letting him focus was part of the lesson in independence and confidence, a lesson she had learned herself as a mother, balancing guidance with letting go. Now, watching the final minutes of the game, Sarah felt a sense of awe as Ethan executed plays flawlessly, communicating silently with his teammates, adjusting his strategy mid-game, and showing a maturity beyond his years, while the crowd's energy surged, amplifying the stakes and the intensity of every second. Jason stayed close on the sidelines, offering quiet guidance, occasionally exchanging a word or nod with Sarah, and she couldn't help but notice how comfortable his presence felt, how naturally he seemed to fit into the rhythm of the team and into the emotional space she carried as Ethan's mother, and she wondered if this connection, subtle and respectful, could grow into something meaningful without overshadowing the bond she had spent years nurturing. Then came the pivotal moment. Ethan intercepted a pass from the opposing team, his body moving with precision and instinct, and sprinted toward the end zone, every eye in the stadium on him, every cheer swelling in volume, every heartbeat in Sarah's chest matching the rhythm of his steps, and she screamed his name, feeling an overwhelming surge of emotion, fear, excitement, pride, and love all mingling in a perfect storm, as he dove past the final defender and scored the winning touchdown. The stadium erupted into deafening cheers, and Sarah jumped to her feet, tears streaming down her face, throwing her arms wide in an instinctive gesture of pure, uncontainable joy, knowing that Ethan had not only won the game but had also proven to himself and everyone watching how far dedication, courage, and love could take him. She rushed down to the field after the final whistle, her heart pounding, and embraced Ethan in a tight hug, feeling his warmth, his relief, and his pride radiating toward her, whispering through her sobs, "I'm so proud of you, Ethan. You did it," and he whispered back, a mixture of excitement and gratitude in his voice, "We did it, Mom. I couldn't have done it without you." In that moment, Sarah felt the full weight of everything, the sleepless nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices, the relentless encouragement, the quiet belief in her son, and knew that all of it had led to this pinnacle of triumph. Jason approached quietly, clapping, offering congratulations to both of them, and Sarah felt an unexpected warmth and curiosity, a spark that hinted at the possibility of companionship and shared joy, but she kept her focus on Ethan, knowing that his achievement and her role in his life were the center of this day. As they walked off the field together, arm in arm, Sarah felt a sense of completeness mingled with anticipation. This victory was a milestone, but life and challenges would continue, and her heart, full of pride and love, was ready to face the next chapter with Ethan, while the hint of new connection lingered like a gentle promise on the horizon, leaving her both exhilarated and curious about what the future might bring for all three of them. The weeks after the championship game moved in a blur. For Sarah Harper, her days filled with practice schedules, college scout calls, and team meetings, yet amid the chaos, she noticed how much Ethan thrived under the attention, his confidence growing with each compliment, each new opportunity, and each challenge he faced on and off the field, and she felt an overwhelming mixture of pride, relief, and anticipation, knowing that every effort she had made, every early morning and sleepless night, had shaped him into the young man standing before the world ready to chase his dreams. And yet amid the triumphs, there were quiet moments when Sarah realized how much she longed for connection herself, how much she had spent years focusing solely on Ethan, sacrificing parts of her own life and heart for his happiness, and she began noticing Jason more, the assistant coach whose presence had once seemed incidental but now felt steady, warm, and somehow magnetic, a calm and supportive figure who always appeared at the right time with encouragement or practical advice, who treated her son with respect and understanding, and who, in quiet ways, had begun to make her heart race and her thoughts wander in ways she hadn't felt in years, reminding her that life could hold joy and companionship for her too, and that the possibility of love didn't have to come at the expense of the bond she shared with Ethan. She remembered the rainy evening when she had stayed late with Ethan to practice a tricky play, and Jason had appeared with umbrellas, offering one to her with a gentle smile, their hands brushing in a fleeting, electric moment that had left her cheeks warm and her mind swirling with possibilities. And though she tried to focus on football, she couldn't ignore the feeling that maybe, just maybe, life was giving her a second chance at connection. Someone who cared not just for Ethan's success, but for her as a person, someone she could trust and lean on without fear of losing her independence or her son's trust. At the same time, Sarah's days were packed with the relentless rhythm of support, driving Ethan to early morning drills, helping him recover from minor injuries, organizing his meals and schedules, and staying up late to research scholarships and college programs, all while juggling her work and personal responsibilities. And in the quiet moments between, she found herself reflecting on her own hopes and fears, the loneliness she sometimes felt, and the cautious excitement that Jason's presence stirred in her, a gentle tension that was new but comforting, promising, and a little frightening all at once. Ethan's dedication and talent made her proud beyond words, but the emotional journey of motherhood was complicated. She wanted to protect him, guide him, and give him every chance to succeed, while also allowing herself the possibility of companionship and happiness, and she realized that this delicate balance required patience, courage, and trust, and she found herself watching Jason interact with Ethan, noticing his kindness, his patience, and the genuine interest he took in their lives, and feeling a quiet hope that he could be a positive influence without disrupting the bond she and her son had built through years of shared dreams and struggles. One afternoon, after a grueling practice session, Sarah stayed behind to help Ethan with his footwork, the sky heavy with clouds and the field slick from recent rain, and Jason appeared again, carrying a small first aid kit and a towel, offering to help clean a minor scrape, his calm demeanor and attentive manner drawing her attention in a way that felt new and strangely intimate. And as they all worked together, a gentle camaraderie formed, blending professional support, parental care, and unspoken emotional connection, leaving Sarah both exhilarated and nervous about the possibilities that lingered quietly beneath the surface. She noticed herself laughing more, feeling lighter, and sensing a shift in her daily life, a reminder that while motherhood had always been her primary focus, life could still surprise her with moments of joy, warmth, and emotional resonance beyond her expectations, and she began to allow herself small daydreams about what it might be like to share her world with someone like Jason, someone who respected her role as a mother, celebrated her son's achievements, and treated her with the quiet affection she had missed for so long. Yet, amid these growing feelings, tension remained. Sarah was acutely aware of the delicate boundaries between her role as a protective mother, the importance of keeping Ethan's focus on his own dreams, and the emerging emotions she felt toward Jason, and she questioned whether stepping closer to someone would distract from the priorities she had fought so hard to maintain. But at the same time, the warmth and connection she felt in his presence was undeniable, a gentle pull she could neither ignore nor fully resist. Days turned into weeks as the team's season progressed, with college scouts watching games and Ethan performing with confidence, precision, and leadership, and Sarah found herself navigating the whirlwind of excitement, pride, and logistical demands, while the subtle but persistent tension between her responsibilities and personal desires played quietly in the background, a reminder that life was never simple, that love and family were intertwined in complex ways, and that the capacity for joy could grow even amidst challenges. On a particularly quiet evening after practice, Jason stayed behind, walking with Sarah to her car as they discussed Ethan's progress, strategies for improvement, and potential scholarship opportunities, and the conversation flowed naturally, filled with shared laughter, mutual respect, and unspoken understanding, each word and glance weaving a delicate connection that made Sarah's heart race while reassuring her that she was not alone in supporting Ethan's dreams, that someone else shared her values and cared deeply about the journey they were on together. As they reached her car, Jason lingered, offering a small smile, and Sarah realized in that moment that the emotional bond she had sensed for weeks was real, gentle, and respectful, a connection that promised companionship without threat to the closeness she shared with her son, and she felt a mixture of hope, longing, and cautious excitement as she watched him walk back toward the field, knowing that the future could hold not just success for Ethan, but unexpected happiness for herself as well. That night, lying awake after tucking Ethan into bed and making sure his equipment was ready for the next day, Sarah reflected on the whirlwind of emotions she had experienced, the subtle thrill of new connection, and the quiet contentment of watching her son grow into the person she had always hoped he could be. And she realized that supporting him had opened not only his world but hers too, showing her that life's dreams extended beyond victories on the field and into the realm of love, hope, and human connection, and that perhaps she could allow herself to embrace these possibilities without guilt or fear. The season continued to test Ethan with increasingly challenging opponents, longer practices, and higher stakes, and Sarah's days were filled with the rhythm of commitment, care, and encouragement, but alongside this, the gentle emotional bond she shared with Jason grew, marked by small gestures, understanding glances, and shared moments of quiet triumph, a subtle but powerful reminder that life could hold multiple forms of fulfillment at once, and that nurturing a child's dreams did not preclude the growth of her own heart and emotional happiness. Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for Ethan's talent, his perseverance, the lessons she had learned as a mother, the unexpected warmth of companionship, and the realization that life, even in its busiest and most demanding moments, could offer joy, connection, and hope when least expected, and she began to understand that the most meaningful victories were not only on the field but in the relationships, trust, and love that intertwined her world, guiding her forward with confidence, care, and a renewed sense of purpose. The final game of the season arrived, and Sarah Harper felt a whirlwind of emotions as she stood in the crowded stadium, her hands wrapped around a warm coffee cup, the autumn air crisp and electric, the crowd buzzing with energy, parents and students cheering, bands playing, and players shouting instructions, and all at once it felt like the culmination of years of dedication, sacrifices, and quiet moments of love and support she had poured into Ethan's life, knowing that today would test his skill, resilience, and heart in ways nothing else had, and as she scanned the field, her eyes quickly found him, poised and focused, determination shining in every line of his body, reminding her of the countless hours she had spent helping him practice, analyzing plays, driving him to early morning drills, patching scraped knees, and cheering for him at every little scrimmage, all of it leading to this decisive moment when his talent, perseverance, and character would be on full display. The game began with intensity from both sides, Ethan moving with grace and precision, catching passes, dodging defenders, and making split-second decisions that left Sarah breathless, her chest tightening with a mix of pride and anxiety as she realized how far he had come, how much he had grown not just as an athlete but as a young man, learning leadership, teamwork, and resilience. And she felt tears sting her eyes as she silently encouraged him, shouting words of support that mingled with the roar of the crowd. Beside her, Jason, the assistant coach, stood quietly, his calm presence somehow balancing her nerves, his eyes following Ethan with admiration and care, and she felt a gentle warmth spread through her, a reassurance that she was not alone in this journey, that someone else shared her commitment to supporting Ethan's dreams while respecting her role as a mother, and the subtle connection between them sparked in ways she had not anticipated, a mixture of curiosity, hope, and cautious excitement that lingered beneath the surface of her focused attention on the game. As the minutes ticked by, the tension on the field mounted, both teams trading points, each play raising the stakes higher, and Sarah felt every heartbeat echoing the rhythm of the game, every cheer swelling inside her chest, every strategic move by Ethan sending waves of pride and fear through her simultaneously, and she marveled at his skill, composure, and courage under pressure, knowing that his success was not just talent alone but the result of endless practice, dedication, and the lessons she had instilled in him over the years. Jason occasionally leaned over, offering gentle encouragement, a nod of approval, or a quiet observation that helped her see the game in new ways, and Sarah found herself appreciating not just his insight but the way he seemed to care without intruding, creating a safe space for both her and Ethan, and she realized that this partnership, subtle as it was, added an unexpected layer of support and hope to her life, a reminder that she could allow herself to experience joy, connection, and even love while still being wholly devoted to her son's success. Then came the pivotal moment that would define the game. Ethan, anticipating a key pass, sprinted across the field with focus and precision, evading defenders, his muscles moving with practiced grace, and Sarah felt her heart leap as she watched him make a perfect catch, spinning to gain yardage, and finally scoring the winning touchdown as the crowd erupted around them, the roar of excitement mixing with tears streaming down her face, her voice hoarse from cheering, and a rush of overwhelming pride and relief flooding her senses as she ran onto the field to embrace him, holding him close, whispering words of love and pride, and feeling his excitement and gratitude radiate through him as he responded with a smile that lit up his entire face. Jason approached, clapping warmly, his smile genuine, and in that moment, Sarah felt the subtle shift in her own heart, a quiet understanding that life could hold both triumph and unexpected happiness, that supporting her son had not only fulfilled his dreams but opened the door to new possibilities for herself, a gentle hope that perhaps connection and companionship could exist alongside her devotion to Ethan without conflict or guilt, and she felt a sense of calm and joy she hadn't realized she had been missing. As the sun set over the stadium, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, the warmth of the day, the shared triumph, and the presence of someone who understood her world created a feeling of completeness, a quiet satisfaction in witnessing her son succeed and in realizing that she, too, could allow herself to embrace new chapters, new connections, and the gentle unfolding of life beyond the challenges she had faced alone. Walking together after the game, Sarah holding Ethan's hand and Jason walking alongside them, she reflected on the journey, the struggles, the sacrifices, the triumphs, and the love that had carried them through every step, and she felt a profound gratitude for the lessons learned, for the bond she shared with her son, and for the unexpected promise of companionship, realizing that the future held both challenges and joy, victories and new beginnings, and that with love, care, and trust, they could face anything together. Ethan chattered excitedly about scouts, college opportunities, and upcoming practices, his energy contagious, and Sarah laughed, feeling a lightness in her chest, while Jason smiled knowingly, sharing in their joy without overstepping, creating a sense of harmony, support, and quiet intimacy that warmed her heart, and she felt that life had rewarded her not only with her son's accomplishments but with the gentle hope of emotional connection and partnership she had thought lost. That evening, after Ethan had showered, eaten, and tucked himself in, Sarah sat by the window, watching the stars emerge in the cool night sky, reflecting on the whirlwind of the season, the milestones achieved, the lessons learned, and the subtle spark between herself and Jason, understanding that love and success could coexist, that joy could be found in both family and companionship, and that the journey of life, while unpredictable, was filled with moments worth savoring, moments that reminded her of the strength, resilience, and capacity for happiness that she had cultivated and could continue to nurture. The day ended with quiet contentment, hearts full, and minds hopeful, as Sarah knew that while challenges would come, as they always do, she and Ethan were stronger for what they had endured and accomplished together, and that the gentle, respectful presence of someone who cared for both of them could make the next chapter of their lives not just possible but beautiful, filled with pride, love, and the quiet promise of tomorrow, leaving Sarah hopeful, energized, and ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that dreams fulfilled and hearts opened created a life worth celebrating in every possible way.